All right, we're live.
All righty. It says live on the screen and uh, I'll wait for it to pop up. You're under Empower
Okay.
Power?
Yeah, we're there. I see it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, God family. If you're tuning back in, I'm so
Ooh,
sorry. Do you see
ooh.
it?
Human error, human error.
Yeah, my apologies.
Okay, so let me just reshare this and we can get going.
Yeah, okay. Let me I put tune in again. My apologies, guys. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and try to put the link in the comment section
Mm-hmm.
for you guys. If you
Here we
want
go.
to come in, please feel free.
And please share. We appreciate you guys that you did share the last one. Please share with all your people on social media. Tell them to join the discussion. We're talking hot topics today. Whatever's on your mind. What do you want us to talk about? If you wanted to join the discussion, we can pull you up on the screen and we can all have a community forum discussion together. And or if you just want to shoot out some things that's on your mind, just let us know right there. Just type it on in and we'll get it on up and have a conversation about it. Who's joining us? Let us know who's on. Who's on? Where you calling? Where you watching us from? Let us know, please. We like to recognize our guests. Well, hot topics. I can get going, honey. For
Oh, go ahead,
I
Alkama.
think
I know the first thing I wanted us to talk about was the whole pandemic situation.
well, we usually always on the same wavelength, so going right in that.
I know
So
you've been in a row lately.
the whole Delta variant. You said I've been on a roll lately.
Yeah, yeah, the vaccinated versus unvaccinated. So I
Mhm.
know I know you would have wanted to touch on that, but that is one of the things on my list, and I think it's at the top of most people's brains.
Yeah, no doubt. You really you can't miss it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's
Yeah.
everywhere. As far as um, you know, the conversation being had.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What are
So
your thoughts?
I was going to ask you the same thing. Well, I mean, I've kind of just been kind of sitting back and just observing for the most part,
Mhm.
which I think a lot more of us should do. Whether you decide to get vaccinated or not, I think that a lot of people should just sit back and observe first and kind of like allow things space to play itself out, especially when it's like, I know fear can make us think that things are an emergency, and so therefore we act impulsively out of fear, because I think that's kind of what happened with a lot of people as well. The sensationalism, the focus on, like I gave someone the example the other day of, you have a virus that, let's say, is killing it has killed 2% out of 100%, right? And so you have 98% who actually made, let's say you have 98% of recovery.
Mhm.
You have people, fear would make you focus on that 2%
Mhm.
entirely and totally ignore the 98% of, not even saying to yourself, well, if I catch it, then there's a high chance of me recovering from it, versus the 2% with, if you focus on it, it becomes, if I catch it, I'm going to die. you know
Mhm.
that's something I've been observing as well. And I just haven't really been saying anything either way, but just watching people's reaction to the media, mainstream media, when I say that, and not willing to open up themselves to different opinions. Once they've already allowed entry of one particular opinion, it's almost like that's it. They close the door right after that. So anything that comes afterwards is for fake news or pseudoscience, right? That's what's happening out here right now. So for me, one of the things that outside of vaccinated versus unvaccinated, like for me, I've kind of been more advocating on the side of choice, allowing people to have autonomy over their own bodies. And we really need to understand what that means. That means that if a person decides to go and get something injected in, that is their choice, and that is them having autonomy over their own bodies. If someone also chooses not to, that is also a choice, and them having autonomy over their body. Both are. But what I've been seeing a lot of is a lot of people who are vaccinated going hard at people who choose not to be vaccinated. And for the life of me, I don't understand that. Because for me, I'm just like, brother, sister, you chose to get vaccinated because that is your right to make that decision, right? The other side of it is that people also have the right to choose something else and decide, I don't want that crap, or I don't want that in my body, whatever they choose. So that's where I've been coming from, not allowing that to divide us. I've seen people talk about their parents put them out the house because they were the only one left in the family not vaccinated. I've seen people like break fellowship with people, and it's more so like, you don't want to be vaccinated. Or I've seen people attack other people's intelligence around them choosing not to be vaccinated. You know what I mean? Like, you guys are dumb. You guys are listening to, what is it, YouTube or social media or conspiracy theories, all of that. And I'm just like, we don't really need to we can't afford to get into that divide.
Yeah, good points. And I think the it's on both sides of the spectrum, because even those who are the unvaccinated, like myself, you do have some of us who will go real extra hard on the vaccinated. And you know what I'm saying, with all the degrading terminologies and things like that. And I've really been getting into this whole power struggle thing and what is at the root cause of all that. You know what I'm saying? Because I think both sides, it's something innately about us as individuals. I think it's the socialization of how we're made, and we are made to be social creatures by nature. And so we want other people, we feel comforted when other people are in agreements with us.
Yes.
Or are in the same boat and rowing the same way as we are. And if it's not, then it's almost like our own being is compromised in some kind of way if it's too many people going against what I feel and believe and accept. And so it really is both sides. And I have to, being frank and honest, I have to take some accountability myself, because I'm out there in the trenches too. And I think it comes when you have so much information opposite of what somebody else has, that they really think that they have all the information and they know and they understand it clearly, and you have all this information that they don't have a clue about. And so it becomes like a power struggle, a struggle for a struggle to get your point across from both sides. And so it becomes a really nasty, terrible clash.
It becomes a struggle for winning each other over.
Yeah, it's a power struggle. It really is. It really is.
It's a struggle to see who can convince who. If I can win you over to my side, then that empowers me. And that also not only that also means that I was right.
Yes.
And I think people need to understand that's not necessarily true. You know what I'm saying?
And it's the total opposite when if you are proven to be wrong, now you feel depleted in a way. You don't feel emotionally depleted because everybody wants to be proven right.
Yeah, and I think also too what I notice is happening now too. Now we have people who are vaccinated who are also now spreading the virus.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a different variant, but nonetheless, because I really think that, like, people are saying, well, the vaccine was never intended to, completely protect you from the virus. It just decreases your chances of like dying if you get it. Yeah. And I actually said, I think that a lot of people actually got the vaccine in hopes of being protected. So that's not necessarily true. Yeah. Whether, like people are saying that now, because now it has come out that the vaccination, it's not protecting these people. And in fact, they are spreading it. Yeah. Yeah. While being vaccinated.
Which was information, Hanifa, that been out there for months now, but mainstream media is not picking that up. So those who are listening to the so-called conspiracy theories and the folks that people laugh at and call them all kind of, names are the ones who told us months ago. These are reputable scientists and doctors. Some of them are, what do you call the people when they, Nobel Prize winning doctors, very reputable doctors that's told us that the ingredients in these vaccinations actually lowers your immune system, but why would Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson tell you this if their whole purpose and goal is to get every man, woman, and child vaccinated? We got to use common sense here. So if their goal, and they're making billions of dollars per quarter, the most money they've ever made in the history of them having pharmaceutical industries. They're making more money now than ever before. Why would they tell you these kind of things to deter you from getting these shots? They're making money off of it, so they suppress any information that goes anti their goal and their purpose and their mission is to get every man, woman, and child vaccinated. So there are scientists that told us this, that told us that these vaccinations are actually weakening the immune system of those who are taking them. But we don't hear that in the mainstream. And so we rush out and we get these shots. And now we're realizing that a large percentage of those who are catching this new variant are the ones that have actually went out and taken all these shots.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. It's funny because I was listening to something and I was just like, really, really like just watching how everything play out. And the things I think I was sharing with someone, what came to my mind is, when there are things that have happened, like people use slavery, for example, and be like, I don't think slavery could ever happen again. People have a different mindset. What came to my mind is like what came to my mind is Rwanda. What came to my mind is Germany. What came to my mind is the enslavement of African people globally, while the rest of the world stood by. And the only word that came to my mind is propaganda. People do not understand the power of propaganda. They don't. The propaganda is the vehicle. It is the Trojan horse of the agenda.
That's right. They can't do it without it.
That is what brings the agenda in. That's right. Period. You can't have it because it's like, how do I get people? How do I convince people? Propaganda. That's how that happened. And because I thought about Rwanda and I said, when you read the stories about that genocide, you're talking about people who were neighbors for years. Their children went to school together, right? They're all Rwandese people. The difference is they're tribal different. Hutu, Tutsis. And this thing happened and neighbors flip on neighbors. Get them over there, get those Tutsis over there. All these years that was propaganda. When you read up on that genocide, you see the propaganda that was coming across the airways way before the slaughter began. Same thing with Germany. Same thing with the enslavement of our ancestors. Go back and look at the propaganda. And of course, by the propaganda, we have to look at what the tools were that was used. Go look up the newspaper article. Look at the news that was coming out when Haiti won. Okay, when Haiti revolted and won, look at the propaganda that was coming out, going into the United States about the Haitians. Where do you think the depiction of people cooking white people in pots came from? This is propaganda, because in order for me to mistreat you, I have to convince people that it's okay to mistreat you.
That's right. That's right.
In order for me to enslave you, I have to spread that Black people have no souls.
That's right. We're less than human.
This is propaganda. So as I'm observing, I'm like, and we like to think that we're so much more advanced and so much more intelligent. And I'm watching this vaccination versus unvaccinated, vaccinated versus unvaccinated. And I'm saying, and y'all really can't understand how places like Rwanda and Germany and the enslavement of people that look like you and me, Alkama, could happen? How?
Not long ago.
People turning
not that long ago.
People turning on their families right now over a vaccination. We gotta be careful with that. We really need to understand mass media manipulation and propaganda. We really do. And I feel like as Black people, we of all people should be very affiliated with propaganda, because it's used against us over and over and over again.
Right. Right. It's like, how do we ignore? But I understand it, because it's like, it's a repetitious thing. So if you continue that, there's a reason why you can't watch the TV for 5 minutes or turn the radio on or see anything for 5 minutes without them talking about go get a shot. There's a reason why they're trying to pay people to go get this shot. There's reasons why they're giving all these incentives. And now they're talking about stopping you from traveling, moving around the world until you get a vaccination passport. And this fascinates me how some of us are out here saying, yeah, well, whatever it takes. I'm like, are you crazy right now?
That's my thing.
Are you actually offering your freedom up to these people? You're actually handing away all your freedoms, the little you got. You're gonna say, take that too?
I was listening to this lady talk, and again, I've been in the propaganda thing for a couple of weeks. And one of the things that people don't understand is the power of programming and how programming works. Repetition is a part of programming. This is why in school, okay, you be like, sheesh, they've been on letter A for 4 weeks. Can we move on? My child is fine. We got the letter A, for apple. Can we move on? No, because repetition, okay, is kind of what gets it into the part of the brain that it needs to get into.
And it's
right? So I heard this lady constantly saying over and over, I blame the unvaccinated. I blame the unvaccinated. This is before the reality that the people who are vaccinated, right, are now spreading this variant. This was before that. The constant, the unvaccinated, they're the problem. All I could say is like, wow, the power of propaganda is a serious thing. People better protect their minds and their spirits, right? Because Alkama, even if I am vaccinated, the fact that because I'm vaccinated and you're not, I would cheer on and applaud, right? The starving out of you and your family. Do we not see the problem with that? I could be vaccinated and still say, no, you guys cannot mandate vaccinations to that level, to where you just about to starve people out. And when I say starve people out, I mean, people are losing their jobs over this.
Somebody just said that. Miss Red said people losing their livelihoods if they don't conform. And you got half the population cheering that on. That's a dangerous place to be, family. That's a dangerous place to be. And they have convinced so many of us that, Hanifa, you are in danger if I don't get vaccinated. You know what I'm saying? It's like the common sense logic of it all is thrown out the window, you know, because they repeat it over and over again to the point that you actually believe it.
Yeah, I just for me, and by the way, it's not even, like I said, because there's a lot of things that people do that I wouldn't personally do to myself. You know, there are certain things that people consume that I wouldn't personally consume. There are things that people eat, chitlins and whatever else, that I personally won't eat. You know, you get what I'm saying? So it's not, but even though those people eat those things, if they were to make it mandatory and say these people will start losing their jobs, I would have a problem with that. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So that's why my conversation around the vaccine is more so around, like, I need you guys to really use your critical thinking skills. If you have any, tap in and utilize them. Because not only that, when people begin to infringe upon your rights and take them away, today for me, tomorrow for you, Alkema. This is why I have an issue with so-called cancel culture or censorship or whatever. Because Black people, for example, I'm going to use Trump as an example. Oh yeah, shut his social media down, right? Censor him. He shouldn't be on Twitter. Yeah, they should do that. Today for Trump, tomorrow for you.
Yeah.
Because you might decide there's some important information you need to get out there, and it will be labeled as hate speech.
Yeah, and right now, and they did the same thing with Trump. They used the same tactics to bring him down. You know, the media did, and anybody. I was seeing the other day where they took down a major network over in Australia. Major. They had millions of viewers, and they YouTube snatched them down for going against something that they said that's related to the thing. It's a fascinating thing to watch how these corporates, these corporations run so much. Anytime the corporation can censor the president of the United States, no matter how you feel about him, you know, put away how you feel about Donald Trump. But the fact that corporations can prevent a president of the United States from speaking out publicly, that's some serious misuse of power. Serious misuse. And that's who's running the show right now. Clearly, that's who's running the show, these corporations. And it's fascinating. We got to be careful and really have to really open our minds and understand and see what's going on right in front of us.
That, I feel like I'm going to keep saying this every time. Like, you have a wellspring of knowledge and information sitting dormant in your DNA. Tap in. Tap in. Sometimes you guys, like, those, some people are consumed by the news because it is fair. In and day out, they're consuming this media. Like, you might need to step away, take some time, walk out in nature, whatever, but connect to that side of yourself. And we call it intuition, whatever it is, okay? Where you are getting the information, and it's not from a news media outlet. It's something within you that's saying, no, this is not right, or yes, this is right. Stop allowing the media to become your conscience. That should never happen. Okay. And stop allowing the media to override your conscience as well. So that's my take on the vaccine versus, I'm watching the whole thing play out. And a part of me, I'm so disgusted with us around this, you know, because I'm just like, you know, we really want, when we look at some of these things that have happened over the years to our people, you know, and in certain like countries, you know, we try to say we're above that now, and that could never happen to us. And I'm watching the same exact thing, right? The beginning stages of how stuff like that can actually play out and actually escalate into something huge. We gotta watch that. We gotta be careful. Yeah.
It's sad, because especially knowing the history of Bill Gates, and I don't believe that him and Fauci are the runners of the show. You know, I think they're just the front people. You know, they got a gang of folks that's putting them out there. And we got to understand, like, when you do the history, when you do the research and you look into Bill Gates' family, and you realize that his father, the blood from which he came, was was on board with Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood. All of this is public information, family. This is no conspiracy. You can, the same way I found the information is the same way you can find it. It's out there, it's public record. That his father was on the board of Planned Parenthood. He was a eugenicist. And their goal and purpose at that time was to cut off the, stop the population of Black people from growing.
Population control.
This is his father, family. This is Bill Gates' father. And now here's the son come up, and we got him on record saying, public record, that one of the goals was to wipe off a large percentage, a third of the population or whatever that they needed, in order for the the world that's turning topsy-turvy to get back level again in their sick, twisted, warped minds. They feel like, if we can take out a large percentage of the population, then we can stop all this, because they understand what's coming, family. They understand. They're not stupid. They know that the route we're going as far as consuming all of the Earth's resources and, the heating up of the Earth and all that, the resources is finite, it's not infinite. So you can't just keep drilling oil out of the land and think that's going to last forever. That's going to dry up eventually. And what runs this whole economy is oil. You can't do nothing without that oil. That's why they fight so hard. They go to so many wars over in the Middle East and take Venezuela and strip people of all their resources like that, because they know without them, that oil, this whole economy will come to a screeching halt. You can't move nothing. You can't move no products and nothing like that without oil. So long story short, they know what's coming up ahead. So in their sick, twisted, warped mind, they feel that if they can just take off a large percentage of the population, then that will slow down the process of the Earth being destroyed. And so instead of changing some of the things, that's not too much like right, because now you're dipping into the pockets of all these wealthy elitists. So, instead of digging in my pocket, I don't want to change nothing up. I don't want to, lose my corporations and stuff. I would rather kill a large percentage of you guys before I would do that. And so that is the diabolical plan. They want to strip out a large percentage of the population in order to save themselves. When you think about it, it's a self-preservation thing for real for them, but we don't see it that way. We don't understand. We don't study. We don't research. All we know, what I'm saying? And then the hearts that we have, you could not even fathom that people on this earth could be that diabolical. You know what I'm saying? But it's happened before. That's what I don't get. What makes you think that they haven't? Look what they've done. They gave smallpox, them blankets to them Native Americans and wiped out damn near all of them that was here before. So it's not like they ain't done it before. You know what I'm saying? You just got finished talking about Rwanda. You got finished talking about Germany over there with the Jews, and they putting them people in ovens and annihilating them and things like that. And this has been going on with us for eons. It's just been done on such a low vibrational level that we didn't even put two and two together. But when you think of all the cancer rates, and you think of all the things that they've done to the foods, taking all the seeds and stuff out of the foods, and folks are dying left and right from heart disease and high blood pressure and cancer and all those kind of things. But we don't put two and two together, and we think all that shit is genetics coming through. No, it hasn't always been that. It's more people dying of cancer than it is the damn COVID. So we don't put those things together to realize what the hell is happening to us. When I went back and I studied and I looked at our growth, population growth in this country, Black people in specific, in about the 80s, the mid 80s, we stopped. Bro, it was like we were on a steady steady incline of population up until like the 80s. And then all of a sudden that shit started tapering off. I'm like, what the hell? What happened differently? So when you factor in all those things, the abortions and all the things that we're dying and the jails and going to jail. And now they coming after the family unit where we can't even get along close enough to long enough to have a strong family unit, to have multiple children together and raise them civilized and all that stuff. So when you add all that, factor all that together, you got to realize there's some diabolical things going on at play right now. And we really got to put our thinking caps on and get into reality, and all the distractions that are being presented in front of us prevents us from having these kind of understandings. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it's a tangent, and I can go on, but it really goes deep there.
It's fine. It
really goes deep.
I know. I
think we're in denial that there's an enemy. We have a natural born enemy. I believe that it's a natural born enemy. And the folks that believe there's a God, if you believe that there's a God, then why is it so difficult for you to believe that there's a devil too? So if you believe that there's high-spirited, righteous, good-natured people on the earth consciously, why do you think there couldn't be an opposite of that? Mm-hmm. We don't, it's like we throw blinders and shadows when we get to talking about some diabolical natured people who want nothing more than to destroy, kill, torture. You know what I'm saying? They walk amongst us. Mm-hmm. But we turn a blind eye to that type of reality.
Mm-hmm. So I know we don't have a lot of time, but so since we was talking about that, I just kind of, maybe we could transition into, like, there's something that's trending right now. Some comments that the rapper DaBaby, you guys do not, okay, don't come for me. DaBaby, okay, is on the fire right now, because of some comments that he made that people are calling homophobic. And when I was looking up some what is happening, what's the issue, I'm just we're very selective in our outrage. And I know it's a particular community that came for him, which would be the LGBTQI plus community that came after him. And my take on that is, if they felt offended by what he said, which clearly they did, then okay. But they have the right to say something about it, for example. Because if somebody, my issue with Black people though, it's just, oh boy, this man's lyrics are so demoralizing and demeaning to Black woman. I'm just how come I'm struggling with this? Because I'm just how does one become more important than the other? How is he suddenly problematic? Because he made a comment. And again, perhaps it's the LGBTQI plus community that's pushing it. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what it is, because, and I'm going to go ahead and say that's what it is, because it can't be a Black people thing as a collective, because the man been problematic.
Yeah.
He's been problematic.
And you see,
but I'm noticing that we do this a lot, where we pick and choose, what we're going to cancel somebody over. And I'm like, so the music that he's making, that wasn't a problem before? No. Mm-hmm. He was at a whole concert and made some comments, and it was the comments is what have him on the fire right now, not something he sang about or anything like that. So I'm kind of struggling with that, because, and this isn't the first time I'm seeing this over and over.
Yeah, and you mentioned early on about the conditioning of the mind. It's like when, and a lot of times we just react. Most of the time we just react into, what the the vast majority of other people are reacting to. It's almost like that situation where there's a lot of people standing on a corner and one person take off running, and everybody start running so they don't even know what they're running for.
They need to know what they're running from. We're gonna find that out after, okay? In the moment, we are running.
It's the same thing. So, some people got mad and in an uproar. So, it's like, okay, it's time for us to get mad and be upset about it too.
And you know how I feel about that. I feel like I keep saying I feel like some of us like we're like puppets on a string, and somebody's pulling the strings. Like it's like when I'm looking at social media, it's like somebody hits an on button. All right, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get mad. All right, bloop. We're over that now. All right, 3, 2, 1, get mad. All right, bloop. We're over that. I am so. Yes, dude. Watch it, you'd be like, okay, what are we? You wake up in the morning like, what we mad about today?
Collectively,
what we mad about today? Can we?
That's real.
Like I said, I think it's the LGBTQ community was, because I know the comments that he made, and so they took offense to it. So that's kind of who I think it is really going hard at him, But I'm just like, so that same community, you don't find his music problematic, period? Do you get what I'm trying to say? That's the question I have. That's the question I have.
Yeah, the baby, he apologized like a few hours ago.
That's like his third apology. At first he started off still trying like be tough and like, man, y'all get people
break them down, don't they?
Yeah, me paying y'all no mind, y'all get people. By the time they started pulling all them things from under him, all them concerts he had coming, he came back on with a totally different tone. Reminded me of what's the brother name? What's his name? Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon. These people have the same PR people writing these letters for them. I am convinced because
he read from the script.
Yes, it'd be the same word and tweaked a little bit. You know what? You can't. That would be, what do you call it when they say in school?
Plagiarism.
Yeah, we can't plagiarize Nick Cannon, so let's switch some words, but it still be the same stuff. Same
yeah, that's real.
Yeah, I read his last thing, and like I said, if those are the people, if they are going to affect his money, which is what's happening, then yeah, most people, what they do is they're trying to protect their livelihood as well.
Yeah,
that's really what's happening. But yeah, I just kind of that's kind of been like a hot topic, so I wanted to talk about that. But the last thing I also want to talk about is this thing with these athletes
out. That's on my list too. Yeah, before you go there, I just want to make a quick point about what you just got finished talking about. Dave Chappelle is a rare breed out there in that way, to where he will say things and stand firm no matter what the consequences. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what makes people so great in history making. When people, Muhammad Ali's of the world, and people that stand strong in their convictions, this no matter what, they're like, I'm gonna take that from you. I don't care what you take from me. This is how I feel, and I believe, and I'm standing on it. That's a rare breed of person. Rare breed. Not a lot of people at all take them type of strong stands and stick with it. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I kind of wanted, this is the last topic I wanted to transition into, which was just seeing all these different athletes kind of pull themselves out of certain competitions and so forth, and just looking at our people's response to these young sisters. Now, I want to say this, like, so Sha'Carri Richardson, we could start with her, okay? I was kind of on the fence with that.
That's the one who smoked weed. And okay.
Yeah, I wasn't on the fence. Let me don't say that. Nope. I wasn't on the fence. No. I didn't even see the fence. I was personally, I was watching the whole thing, and I was like, has anybody considered that this is possible self-sabotage? That's the perspective I was coming from. And just like, even this is me reading between the lines about certain things. Like when she talks about her mom, she uses the word bio,
Mm-hmm.
which we know, I mean, just for my work alone, I know what that means. You know what I mean? That means that that person was around, but they didn't necessarily play a significant role in raising you. You
Yeah,
know
yeah,
who they are. You respect them for who they are. Do you get what I'm saying?
yes.
Because if I talking to you, you're not gonna ever hear me say, "Yeah, my bio mom."
Right,
That's my mother. That's
right.
my mother. Right. Okay. So I know when that term is used. So we already know that there's some sort of breakdown in the family structure. And I'm not going to analyze this girl. She's a young lady. Um, she is free to make mistakes, right? But I actually didn't see it as that. Like people advocating for, we gonna still protect her. I didn't see it. I saw it as self-sabotage
Now,
because
why you think she do something like that?
she got on camera and she said, "I know what I was doing." She said that.
She did.
The
She sure did.
sister said that she know I know what I was doing and I still did it.
That's
So people are like, "Oh, well, she smoked a little. Maybe she smoked because her mom passed." I was like, "No, y'all know that's not the first time that girl smoked, right? Like, let's really have an honest conversation around this, please."
Mhm.
Okay. I'm not on the fence about this. I think we got to be very careful of producing a generation of entitled, lacking, like, I don't deserve the consequences to the actions I
Yeah,
did. We
I
got to
agree with
be
that.
very careful with that.
I agree with that.
I saw a lot of that.
Me too.
I'm talking from grown people. And
Yeah.
you can say, I could see my son and say, let's say he's in school and he gets suspended because I don't know, maybe he mouthed off the principal. Okay.
Hmm.
They call me, they say he mouthed them off or whatever. Okay. I can still say my child is loved, my child is protected, and still allow them to deal with the consequences of those actions.
Yeah.
Me allowing them to deal with the consequences and acknowledging that, yes, it fits the crime, okay, doesn't mean that I love them any less. It doesn't mean that I don't protect them. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
In fact, that probably is probably the opposite because they need those type of um consequences to their actions. That I think is a form of good parenting.
Yeah, and that's where I was kind of like, this is a different. I'm thinking of a different conversation, and I still say Shakari is still tied into the Naomi and now the Simone Biles. It's all connected. It's all mental health.
Yeah.
It's all mental health. But to see Black people, and I'm not surprised. When we talk about breaking generational curses, one of the generational curses that I think we need to discuss more is grinding ourselves into the mud. Our ancestors did that because they had no choice.
Mm.
Okay, they was treated like mules.
Mm.
And now today we treat ourselves like mules for this country. And so when we see a Black person that actually steps away and say, "No,
Mm.
I need to rest.
Mm.
I need to take care of myself."
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, whoa, 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 what you doing? I see people out there calling her calling these girls quitters and stuff. I say, wow, wow. Capitalism will really, really convince us that to actually self-care is laziness.
Yeah, that's
And
real.
we need to understand it's because there's a profit being made off of you when you are out there being a mule,
Mm.
right, for a system that could care less about you.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those girls can step back and take care of themselves because they're in a space where people are still going to make them push through to the
Yeah.
very last drop. So you have to say, "No, I'm going to do this for myself." The same way we supported Shakari, a lot of people supported Shakari. I need them to have that same energy for the Naomi and the Simone Biles who decide to take care of themselves. It's all connected. It's all mental health. We really have an issue with like taking care of our mental health in
Yeah.
our
I think it's a selfish stance to take too when somebody's telling you that they are feeling some kind of way and they need to take a step back, and you looking at them like, what's wrong with you, girl? No, you are at the Olympics, you need to do, going through with that. And it's like, what does they owe you? Why do you feel like these young girls owe you something because they don't want to flip around on them mats and on them poles? You know what I'm saying?
Do what? Oh, come on.
True. So they taking away your temporary joy of watching them flip around. You know what I'm saying? And so you know what I'm saying. Despite what they dealing with, so that becomes what they're dealing with becomes secondary to your own temporary fleeing moment of joy of watching them.
Yeah.
It's selfish.
It is. It is. I was just watching the comments and I was really like taken aback, like, wow, like we really have an issue with people because we still in this country, we still see people who have mental health challenges. We still see them as weak. That's a part of the issue as well. We see it as weak. That right there also too still that's why I don't subscribe to the whole strong Black woman narrative. It's not my thing, because of when moments like these come where Black women are actually trying to take care of themselves, they are now seen as weak and lazy and quitters. Why? Because that doesn't fit the narrative that has been projected onto us. Not just projected, it's now protected by Black women and perpetuated by Black women. Strong, and I'm like, no, that's the problem with that. Because when we have moments where we don't need to be strong, we're not allowed to not be strong in those moments. Actually, let me take that back. When anyone who can decide to take care of their mental health over everything else at the cost of whatever, that's a strength.
Yeah, how do you make it all the way to the Olympics and then be considered a weakling? I mean, that don't even add up.
All these medals, this girl see
right.
Well, I said, how can you even fix your two lips on your face to call her quitter? How can the song of the Q in quitter even come from? How?
Right.
This girl has accomplished so much. You know how much discipline it requires to get to where she is now?
Right.
How? How is she a quitter because of one situation? How? That's what I'm just like, come on, man. Like,
and I'm even wondering now if the pressures of, I'm thinking now back to what's her name, Sha'Carri, and your theory of her self-sabotaging, and I'm wondering if all the pressures to perform like that at all times, being on them world stage and being in all those the competitions and all the practices and all the press releases, and you know what I'm saying, to have to watch your diet, watch your weight, and all those pressures of the world do cause them to just want out, to a point where like I had enough or crack. I don't know. That's just a theory. But let's get some folks on the stream. Crystal says, hey, Crystal. She says, yes, on a personal level, I get to work on time, take my breaks away from my desk, and leave on time. And I don't take work home. It's not admirable or commendable to overwork yourself. Take a sick day too when I'm tired. Yeah. I think, that's a spiritual journey too, though, because we tie money into safety. We tie money into safety and security. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, it's important, because it's important to be safe. We don't want to be out here not knowing what the hell tomorrow is going to bring. So we do, work ourselves in that way. But I think it's a spiritual growth and transformation that we go through that allows us to understand how money is a tool, I'll understand that better. I don't think we start off with that though. I think it's something, not all of us anyway. I think for the vast majority of us, it's something we grow into understanding. And some people never get it. They chase the bag to the day they die.
Yeah.
But it's a transformation process, because it's like, yeah, you do need to work. I'm not saying don't work and don't, follow your passions and your goals and your dreams and work to get there. But at some point in life, you have to stop and look around and ask the deep seated questions of what am I doing, and why am I doing it like this, and what am I doing it for? And what I'm saying, if you never do that, you just run and burn yourself out.
Yeah, and I think also to, like, even looking at the times that we're living in and stuff right now, I mean, these people are flying out to space, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like, we don't even know what that means in its fullness, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, like, I think a lot of us, even you, because you talked about the dollar earlier, we really need to start, I want to use the word equipped, but I really like finding, there we go, finding value in other things outside of the dollar. And I say that because the times, like, we don't know if this whole thing shuts down tomorrow, what skills do you have?
That's a heavy thought.
What have you been working on and mastering? You get what I'm trying to, like, we don't know to where if this whole thing shuts down and now everybody is on the same level, because the dollar don't mean crap. Okay, to where it could flip tomorrow, the whole thing shut down, and tomorrow cowrie shells become currency.
Again. That's what I mean by stopping and taking a look around.
But you have to find value outside of the dollar sign. You have to, because the reality is that you are more valuable than what you have and what you can acquire. You are.
Yeah.
And you have to know that, so that if anything happen, you don't decide that you want to die because you don't have.
That's a good point. That's good teaching. That's good teaching. But again, I still say that goes back to a spiritual growth and transformation.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like it's levels of awareness and understanding to even get to that point.
Yeah. That's yeah, I agree with you on that. That's why for me, it's like, what, and I'm very aware of this because I bring this up a lot. I always bring up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I've been playing around with that hierarchy, that whole pyramid for a while. I'm like, what happens if you flip it? What does that look like? But anyway, so I do know that it is a privilege to be able, when I say tap in, that's a privilege. And when I say that, I mean, some people don't even have enough downtime in their life. I have a lot of downtime in my life, but that's because that was deliberate, right? That was very deliberate, okay? But this is what I'm trying to say.
You manifested that downtime.
Yeah, because the reality is this. Once you begin to unplug your value from these things, for example, some people are like, they're just, they're focused on getting the next promotion, okay? For me, I got to a place where it's like, I want to be there for my child. At that time, I had one. So now it's like, I need to be there for my children, right? What does that look like? I work from home. Do you get what I'm saying? I don't make a lot of money. I don't, from the position I'm in right now, I'm not looking to be promoted. But again, that's more so unplugging, because promotion might mean I might have to go to somebody's office, and I'm not willing to trade that in. The time with my children, I'm not willing to trade that in for anybody. Do you get what I'm trying to, or for extra $5 or $10? I'm not. That's what I mean when I say you have to unplug your value from those things. However, I am very aware that there are people who literally get up in the morning and they have to grind. Okay, this is what they do. They have to, like, barely making ends meet. You are not thinking about your spiritual life. You might go to church on Sunday just to even catch a word from the pulpit to feed your soul, and go home and it's back to that again, because mouths got to be fed. right? And backs got to be closed, right? And roofs need to be put over people's heads. So you don't have the luxury. That's the word I'm looking for. That spiritual journey for a lot of us, we don't realize is like really tapping in. That's a luxury sometimes. I am able to do that because of the life that, and I still have a long way to go, but I'm very aware of my sisters and brothers who do not. And so every time I end up in conversations where I'm like, we really having a privileged conversation, I often inject that in there and say, hey, let's put into perspective that there are people, they want to, but they just don't see how.
Yeah, no doubt, because you've placed your value system is different. Mm-hmm. So you've placed value, you've placed your children, the rearing of your children, the upbringing and the home, and you placed more value on that than the other material things that other people.
It is the value system. You're so right.
Yeah. And that's why I said you manifested that. Yeah. And that came, and all that comes through with, you can't get to any of that unless you understand who you are.
Yeah.
Unless you go deep and understand who you are. And that's a privilege these days, because like you just got broke down so eloquently. How the heck you gonna know who the heck you are when you ain't even got time to stop and take a dump, for lack of better words? You know what I'm saying? Let alone stop and really tune in and tap in and ask the serious questions of who am I and why am I here and what am I here for and what is this mission about?
That takes downtime. Mm-hmm. That takes the you can't do that without being able to step away from the hustle and bustle. You just cannot. You can't take a long walks for an hour and a half and so in nature. An hour and a half? Yeah, no, ma'am. Yeah. I have a bus to catch.
That's right. And that alone, even if you did have that particular time, now the stresses and the worries of you have to stop this in order to do this. And, you know, a lot of us, we worry and we stress about, I got to get back to what it was that I was doing. And so you, even in your downtime, you're not even focused enough to release those energies because you're so worried and concerned about what you're missing out on. Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
And that's
where it's necessary. And I will stress that anybody out there that could, even attempt to start walking that path, I highly recommend it because it's so peaceful. I was just telling my friend just last night, because I can speak on both sides of the spectrum. I think you can too, Hanifa. You know what I'm saying? Because I tell anybody who listens, there was a time in my life where, that was what you just described was me. Mm-hmm. Worrying about money and chasing the bag. And my goal in my first part of my life early on was, my goal was to be a millionaire when a millionaire was considered wealthy. I'm no longer. But that was my goal moving, and I was pushing in every way, shape, or form to get to that. I didn't know. My whole thing was just I just want to see $1 million in my bank, and that life versus the life I'm living today, this is so much more peace. It's so much more peace of mind, not, you know what I'm saying, putting all that stuff, making all that insignificant, frivolous things of life, making that the most important and centered thing in my world. And I just realized that it's just so much more to life than that. And it brings peace. It really brings inner peace. So I'm like,
I don't think that life was intended to be so difficult.
No,
I agree. I think greedy people is who have created a system to where life feels difficult. But the more you begin to unplug from that machine that we're talking about, you realize that, wow, no. Naturally, life should not be this difficult. It really shouldn't. Yeah. But again, unplugging.
Yeah, and it's not, and let me stress, and it's not even a thing where I love nice things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Nice things take money. So I'm not saying at all that I just don't care and want to be poor or none of those type of things. It's just that I understand better these days that money is a tool, and that it's in it, used for specific purposes. And that I really understand manifestation too, and how you can get all the things that I can get all the things that my heart desires, just by, tapping in, tapping into the spiritual world and manifesting those things without all the stress and worry. I can still get everything I want without all the stress and worry. Yeah.
Okay, I think we're over.
Okay. Oh, look, Dr. B is on, and he has something to say. Real quick, I know you got to go, but I do want to get him on. He says it's about having the knowledge and vision. It's having a number of things that you are an expert in that will allow you to function without stress and worry. It's being connected with one another culturally, intellectually, socially, and economically. It's positioning yourself to not be dependent on a system that has no love for you. Ashe, Dr. B. But yeah, his point about function without stress and worry is being having a number of things that you are an expert in, but you won't know that unless you tap in.
Yeah, I was just telling somebody that just, I think if anything that people are learning just from the whole pandemic for the last almost 2 years, I guess, is that people need to really, let me say we really need to start finding ways to divest and to in a bit divest from the system. But in order to do that, we really have to believe in self-sufficiency. We have to believe that we can take care of ourselves. We have to believe, we have to know that. Otherwise, if you don't know that, we go back to the fear mongering and the fear-based thinking. It's like, no, because if I do this, like, how am I going to eat? If I do that, how, yeah. So you have to kind of, yeah, you have to, yeah, exactly. And lack, you have to believe that you can actually, so it just like you just said, small steps. It can be really, really small steps. It can be as simple as, look, maybe I need to choose a different shift at my job. Let's say you're not ready to give up your job, but the shift that you're working might be, be taking a lot of energy from you. Maybe it's looking and saying maybe a different position that allows you a little bit more flexibility, right? So that you can have that time to take care of yourself or whatever. There are ways to go about doing those things. And then eventually you start putting some things in place to where, okay, now I could go down to part-time. You know what I mean? Because now I have this coming in from this venture that I've taken on, and I'm bringing this money in, and this is how much I'm making. So, okay, maybe in the next 2 years from my projection, I'll be able to let this job go complete. And the job is just one example, by the way, that I'm using. It's just one example, because there are many, many other ways that we are plugged in, and many other ways that we're controlled by fear, because we're so plugged, we're plugged into the system in that sense, and we're dependent on the system in that sense. I think all of us are to a certain extent, but to where it's like, maybe bring it down from 100% step by step, maybe try to bring it down to 60, I don't know, but begin to divest as much as possible, Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah. And I know we have to know it. Yeah, Doc, you're right. Yeah, that's a spiritual transformation.
I don't agree with you. I agree.
He said we got to know it. It's like in your being. Yeah, you do. You have to just know, and that's that faith thing that so many people, I'm realizing these days too, is just getting away from. It's almost as if you tell people to have faith, and they think they laugh like that's a bad thing. And for me, I see. I mean, that's the catalyst of it all. It's like you have to know without a shadow of a doubt, with complete assurity, that you're gonna be all right. That you're gonna be all right. And that's it. And that's faith. That takes faith, stepping out in the unknown. You don't have all the ducks in a row, but despite whatever the case may be, you still gonna be all right. And that's that blind faith that we gotta have. And a lot of us claim to have it, but we really don't.
Yeah, that's true.
We really don't, because if we did, we wouldn't stress and worry so much.
And we wouldn't fear death, but that's a whole nother topic for another day.
We wouldn't be lining up.
That's a whole nother topic because fear of death is at the top of the list of things that keep us from really doing what we know inside we're supposed to be doing. So that's a whole.
You're taking it way, way deep with that one now, Hanifa. You going there? That's
No,
real.
I'm not. No, I'm not. But yes,
Not today.
it is the top of the list. But we don't talk about it. We
Mhm.
do not talk about it. We don't talk about it enough. That fear of death. Maybe researching what your ancestors taught about death, how they looked at death. Maybe start there so that you can start building up your spirit towards it and stop being afraid of it. But that's a conversation for a whole nother day. Because,
We
yeah,
can tell telltale signs of what you're talking about right here today about with this whole vaccination thing. But anyway.
yep. But anyway, I have to run.
All right, you gotta go. Thank you guys for joining us and sharing and commenting and all that good stuff. And we'll see you next week. We're looking to get got my fingers crossed, Professor Griff, Public Enemy, Professor Griff. So I've been talking to Griff. He said he'd come on. So I'm hoping he'll come on next Monday. That's the plan anyway. So, but I'll keep you guys posted.
All right, guys. Until next, make sure you share if you love what you heard. And then until next time, we will see you. Peace.
Care of each other out there.